Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first live session. Just give us a minute to get everything online. So it does look very well. Welcome to our first live. I'm Jenny from Galápagos Shark Diving, and thank you so much for joining us today live. I will give it a few minutes until we will start. If you are already in, you can let me know in the chats that you are online and where you're streaming in from. Don't feel shy. We'll check that we are indeed everywhere online. So today the topic will be what is actually the best dive season in the Galapagos Islands. So as you see, I'm already not very well in multitasking. I will check that we are online. I have to switch that off. Pass. So when you're watching already, let me know where you're streaming in from. So I see that the comments also work. It's done. Let's see on Instagram if it works. From New York, very well. Yeah, let me know. Maybe I can even show. Yeah. So let me know where you're streaming in from. So those take a little bit on YouTube. Facebook seems to work already. That is amazing. From Instagram, I can't see it yet. Let's see. There we go. Are we online? Can't see it yet. So Instagram. So I see the first comments. I do not see it on my from London. Very well. Let's see. So we will have first a little bit when I'm talking and explaining a little bit about the best dive season. After that, we will have a live session. So Facebook, Instagram is working. YouTube, for some reason, I still can't see, but I hope that you guys all can see me. Let's see, give YouTube a last chance to show up. It's kind of work, but no. Let's so let's see if that works. Yeah. So it seems to work. Perfect. Then welcome again to our first live session. I'm Jenny from Galápagos Shark Diving. I'm the founder of Galápagos Shark Diving, and I am working since, now 10 years with a shark project, shark scientist project, the Galápagos Whale Shark Project. So I am quite often in the Galápagos. I love it. I could talk probably hours about Galápagos itself. But one question I get very, very, very often, what is the best dive season in the Galapagos? Because many platforms write different things and they're not wrong, but it's often very hard to understand why certain seasons are better than others. And maybe other seasons, the low season might be actually better for you. So let's go through it. So the best dive season in the Galapagos Islands is June to October. So May and November is considered as a shoulder month, so basically as a transition month. But the main best dive season is June to October. So we're talking today about an ideal year. As you know, the Earth, the oceans are changing. Certain conditions are always changing. But when we're talking about a general year, it is June to October. There's where you see the big adult whale sharks, the big hammerhead schools where many people come, the sunfish, the mola, what really a lot of people want to see and not often get a chance to see. You see sea turtles, you see sea lions, you have dolphins, you have different whales, you have even orcas. That's a whole probably different topic, why to travel to the Galapagos Islands, but that is what you see. And why is the abundance and also the numbers of animals so high in that season? That has a reason, and the reason are ocean currents. So you have in certain months different ocean currents that are stronger. So you have the Humboldt current coming from the south, originating in Antarctica, with a lot of nutrients coming up the coast from Peru up to Ecuador, Galápagos, and is very, very strong in the months of June to October. Then you have the Cromwell current coming from the west into the islands. That is a very, very deep current and is upwelling because it's hitting the islands. It's upwelling very strongly in those months. And this cold current then comes towards the surface and also brings a lot of nutrients. So both the Humboldt and the Cromwell current are coming in those months much, much stronger and basically bringing cold water, but a lot of nutrients with it. And those nutrients then are the base for food. So that's a lot of plankton, what then is obviously created. And more food means more animals. So you will have many, many more big pelagic animals in the Galapagos Islands around those months, because they obviously will always follow the food. So that's the reason why you see so many more species in the Galapagos Islands. And as I mentioned, it's not only the warm water fish like whale sharks, like shark species in general up in the north. They do like the warm water, but they do like food as well, right? And then you have the colder currents with Cromwell and Humboldt that are attracting obviously many more sunfish that you have the chances to see. You have even penguins in the Galapagos. So those currents basically are coming in, and the equatorial so you can see it basically as a box, which is the currents of the Humboldt. They're still there in the hot season, which is December to May, is still there, but it's obviously not coming as high towards the Galapagos Islands. So that is special on those months, I would say. More plankton, more food, which means more animals, which is quite logical. However, many articles write Galapagos is an all year round destinations, which is also true because it is very, very easy to go diving in the Galapagos Islands and still see hammerheads and still see sea lions, turtles, manta rays, other species in those months, like January, for example. So I think 2 or 3 days ago, a girl wrote me, I actually only booked in January because I wanted to dive with hammerheads, but I wanted to have warm water. And that's exactly what it is. You will still see hammerheads in January, but the water will be warmer. Visibility is always a discussion. If it's better, often it is a little bit better because you have less nutrients, so less food in the water, but not always. So I would not necessarily say the visibility is incredible in the summer months or in the hot season months from December to May, but you will have definitely warmer water. So the Humboldt and the Cromwell, which are cold currents with nutrients, are not as strong in those months. Like, let's say in January, those currents will be not as strong coming into the islands. So the sea surface temperature, so the temperature on the surface of the water will be much, much warmer. So you will be easily going with a 5 millimeter wetsuit and still enjoy it. However, when you look at studies, especially for hammerheads, and that's the reason why I mentioned hammerheads right now, it is the species that most of the divers are coming for to the Galapagos. I mean, when I came the first time to Galapagos Islands, I came for the hammerheads. And studies show that the biggest concentration, so the biggest chance to see the big mega schools of hammerheads is between June and October, so the cold months. Shoulder months, they still are around, but in the summer months, they tend to be not in big concentrations. They're still there, but they are not as big in concentration. So you still will see, a hammerhead school, and sometimes, it's maybe up to 50 or 100, but you don't see, the big mega schools that you can see in the cold season, which are up to 500 or 1,000 individuals just in one school, just streaming by. So you still see them, and you will have an incredible experience also in the hot season, but you see not as many. For hammerheads, studies show in the months between March and beginning of June that they do migrate a little bit out. So the chances are not as high to see the big schools. So I would recommend, if you're coming because of hammerheads, avoid those months. But otherwise you will see them. And if your goal is to see hammerheads but in warm water, then January obviously is much, much better. So it's nothing wrong to go in January. As I said, the hot season is still, I would say, 90% better than most of all the other dive places in the world. The Galapagos is just, so many species, so many different species that you can see in one place. So you cannot have a wrong month. But if you're coming, for example, for hammerheads, for whale shark, for molars, then I would recommend take the cold season. The temperature is always a big topic. As I want to limit it today a little bit to 20 minutes for the live, I would make a different live for just temperature, where we go into different areas and look at the temperature, because I know it is a big fear of many people. And we'll go a little bit more in detail with that. So cold currents do mean more food, do mean many more animals, and it is definitely the best season. However, as I said, all the articles that say it's an all year round destination are not wrong, because you do see hammerheads, you do see sea lions, you do see manta rays, you do see the big pelagic fish still, and the water is warm. So it always depends a little bit what you are looking for. To maximize your chances to see the big animals, including whale sharks, including hammerheads, I would recommend pick the months of June to October, because if you're traveling that far to an island like the Galapagos, I always would prefer to have the biggest chance to see everything. So that's the reason why I would recommend traveling in the high season. But if, for example, January is the month that you picked for yourself, definitely good as well. Now, I would say that was a short explanation. Let me know your questions. Now comes a very difficult moment for me to see all the questions in the chats. So bear with me. If I do not see your questions, I also will have a live session after this call, or after this live session, I will have a Zoom call where I can answer a little bit more personal questions as well. So if you have a personal question and say, hey, I booked in January, what do you recommend? What should I look for? What wetsuit should I wear? Also, it's probably a better topic for next time. But if you have questions when you should go and you don't want to ask it in the chat, or want to have a personal chat, then join me at 11:45. So I will have a little bit time after the live in the Zoom meeting. Zoom meeting link you find in the chat, in the comments. I pinned it hopefully everywhere to the top, so you should see the link, or you should also have it in the bio app. So when you click the link tree, you should see the free Zoom session. So that's just an offer, because every time when I'm on land and not on a ship, I try to give you as much as possible on time to ask questions. So what is the recommended thickness for the wetsuit for diving in the Galapagos? Also, I have split fins. Are they appropriate for Galapagos? So that's a very personal question, probably better to answer in Zoom if you have later time. But in terms of wetsuit, it depends which season. So if you're coming in the high peak season, June to October, I would recommend minimum a 7mm, because always keep in mind when you're on a liveaboard, and we're talking here about diving on a liveaboard, because you cannot go to Wolf and Darwin on a day trip, which is the dive destination. You are diving every single day. You have sometimes 3, even 4 dives a day, and your body is cooling out much faster. So a lot of people go with a 7mm, especially up in the north. We will talk about the temperature. That's fine. You will be very cozy up in the north. Down, when you have one day in the colder area, a lot of people prefer a semi-dry 7mm, but that is up to you. And usually one day cold water is absolutely fine. Split fins is up to you, which fins you prefer. If you have split fins, absolutely fine too. So we do not paddle against any current or so. You don't have to be a strong, athlete to dive in the Galapagos Islands. So the fins usually do not matter a lot. Do you go to Wolf and Darwin? Absolutely. So Wolf and Darwin are the islands. So if you want to do hammerhead diving, hammerhead shark diving, whale shark diving, eagle rays, sea lions, fur seals, that's the place. I mean, I think my personally favorite, obviously, is Darwin Island. That is also where we do our research, our main research for the project. It's a place which is magical. Diving there is just, for everyone who was already in the Galapagos, I sure you agree, Darwin is the island. Wolf as well for hammerheads. It's incredible. As I said, not reachable by day tours because it's a drive of 24 hours easily. So yeah, we definitely go there. Which other questions we have? I have booked a liveaboard for end of May. Will a 5mm wetsuit be enough? Should I add a week on land after diving? So 5mm, in May, you will see currents are coming already in. So the Humboldt current is getting stronger. Up in the north, we will talk about a temperature next Sunday. Will be fine up in the north. We usually spend on an 8-day liveaboard, depending what you booked. 3 days up in the north, so 5mm there would be fine. 7mm would be recommended for the main islands and the western side of Isabella. So again, keep in mind when you're on a liveaboard, you're diving every day, your body is cooling out much, much faster, and it's better to be warm than too cold. Often women have more the issue, including myself. I hate to be cold, to get cold of much faster. So I personally would probably recommend already 7mm in May instead of 5. How long is the trip? So it depends. So there are different trips that we offer. So we offer 8-day trips or 8-day liveaboards, which most of the others are offering as well. There you have 3 days up in Wolfendaben, 1 day in the western side of Isabella, where you have the famous marine iguana, pretty cool, and penguins and mollas and so on, and then 2 days in the main islands where you have different things like turtles and manta rays and other things. So yeah, the general, I would say, the standard trip is 8 days. We do offer once or twice a year a 15-day trip where we do spend 7 days up in Wolfendaben, which obviously is amazing. And 15 days on a 15-day trip, we also include land. So all the other ones are always mainly only diving. On the 15-day trip, we do both. We do diving and land visits. What can my husband and I expect to see February 7th to the 14th on our upcoming liveaboard? Hopefully everything. As we said, February will be much warmer water in terms of temperatures for the sea surface, temperature for the ocean. Still good chances to see hammerheads, sea lion, turtles, dolphins, sometimes different whale species still in the Galapagos Islands. We do have, at the moment, a lot of orca reportings. Most of the people don't know, we do have a lot of orcas in the Galapagos Islands. So we have currently a lot of reportings of dolphins and orcas, eagle rays, golden rays, a lot. It is incredible. So diving in the Galapagos is a totally different world of diving. So most people are always coming, when they're coming from Europe, the Red Sea and so on, and then they're going to Galapagos, and it's just the sheer number of animals that you see it's mind-blowing, because we are in our dives often only concentrated on the big things, but we never really take the time even to turn around when you look in the reef and would see what is happening there, and all the the invertebrates in Punta de Santa Roca, or in in the coral reefs, when you would take the time to look. Galapagos cannot really disappoint. Galapagos is really just a magical underwater world, I would say. And if the ocean would look like the Galapagos everywhere, we would be in a very, very happy place. So yeah, definitely. Let me see if I can find, what was the next question? Don't see it here. So, how experienced divers do need to be, and how strong currents can be? Can you please say more about current search, etc.? That's probably also worth a whole life in the Galapagos, because it also depends a little bit when you're going diving. Currents tend to be a little bit less in the hot season, a little bit stronger in the cold season, which obviously, again, attracts more animals. Experience, you have to have a minimum of advanced open water. Simple reason, because we're diving lower than 18 meters, so be advanced open water, and you have to have a minimum of 50 dives. Now, 50 dives is always like, depending where you have your 50 dives, right? If you have 40 dives in conditions that are strong currents and no visibility in cold water, you are probably much better prepared with someone that has 60 dives in warm water, no current, clear visibility. So it always depends a little bit how you feel, but the general rule for most of the dive liveaboards in the Galapagos Islands is advanced open water and a minimum of 50 to 100 dives. For the simple reason that we have often one dive guide. So most dive liveaboards have 2 dive guides, and each dive guide has 8 divers. So the dive guide obviously will guide you in the dive where to see the things, brings you to the beautiful places, but he cannot take care of one individual diver. So you have to be good with your body diving, in buddy teams, and do not need constantly assistance from a dive guide. So that should be your minimum experience. We on our trips, we have always a shark scientist on board, which often means that we have an additional dive guide or dive master on board, which often helps if you do have as little experience. But if you want to have some recommendations personally to you, just join me later on the Zoom, no problem. How strong can be the currents? So that's always a big question, and I would want to probably do another live on that. It depends. Sometimes you have no currents whatsoever, and sometimes you have so strong current that it's really hard to hold on. What are we doing? So people are always very, very afraid of strong current. Yes, you have to be careful and you have to be more aware. So you have to be more aware of your group. So what we're doing, we often then drop together in as a group and we're going together down. So we're drifting together down as the group, and then we're holding on to rocks. So we're not paddling constantly frantically against a current or so, not at all. We are going basically together down, we're holding on, and then it's like, I would say cinema sometimes. You're holding on and all the hammerheads are streaming by, the Galapagos sharks streaming by, and in strong currents, they tend to come much closer. So often you have a much you encounter if you do have strong currents. And it is magical. So sometimes you just, you go with the current. You just, you are with the ocean. You're not fighting against it. So yes, we do have strong currents, but we just adjust our dive profile when we do. And I would believe that every other dive company in the Galapagos does exactly the same. If that was not, deep enough, join me for the Zoom today in just 20 minutes, more or less. How is August? And can I bring my daughter, 14 years old? She have advanced open nitrox and 100 dives. Yes, August is one of the best months. I personally, I love to go in July, August, September, which is the reason that we do have our trips in those months. August is very, very good. 14 years old. Yes, if she has her advanced open water and she has 100 dives, she is, secure in the water, I would say. The minimum age, I believe, is 10 years for most of the liveaboards. So yeah, absolutely. And I personally love to have younger people and divers on board, because on our trips, we often talk about a lot about marine environment, conservation, and it's incredible to change mindsets a little bit, to see a little bit more concentration on conservation and the knowledge that is just soaked in, because we have a lot of talks about sharks, about the shark research we're doing. So yes, absolutely, would love to have her on board. The difference in water temperature between islands. Okay, that, Brian, is a huge topic. So temperatures I will do next Sunday, same time, because I think that is a big question on all the comments that I see right now. Let's talk about temperatures in very, very much detail, where I go in each bioregion and talk to you about sea surface temperature, but also the temperature below the thermoclines, to get you all a little bit a better picture. So I will do that next week. What dive company are you with? So we are Galapagos Shark Diving. So that is the dive company that I with, and we are offering dive trips with shark scientists on board. So I'm working since 10 years now with the Galapagos Whale Shark Project, which is a shark research project in the Galapagos Islands. We're researching whale sharks and the aggregation or constellations that are moving through the Galapagos Islands. So we will talk about that. We will talk about citizen science. So the trips that we are offering are a normal liveaboard, but you get the extra of a shark scientist and ideas what you can do as a diver, because there's so many things that we can do by just taking a photo, just taking a video, just counting. We can contribute so much to conservation and to research. And so many people don't know. So that is what our focus is on our company, to do that. And of course, your profit or our profits from the Galapagos shark diving is going straight into the research of the Galapagos Whale Shark Project. So by traveling with us, you're also supporting not only hands-on science, but also financially the project. And for everyone who traveled already with us, thank you for doing that. And yeah, for everyone who's watching the first time, I would be happy to have you on board. So let's see if we have 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes. Let's see if we have some more questions here. Texas. So not sure if I see all the comments. I hope I didn't miss any comments. As I said, I'm very, very bad in multitasking. So I will get better. It's my first live. So I hope to do that now more or less every Sunday, different topics, always Galapagos related. And then I will try, as long as I'm on land, to also offer you the Zoom afterwards, where you just can also ask some personal questions if you have that you might not want to ask in the chat itself. That is not a problem. So for the Zoom session, give me 15 minutes. So I will end this live right now. And then you have 50 minutes at 11:45 where I will start a Zoom meeting where we just have another half an hour to just chat a little bit about your questions. And if you want to not wait the couple of days for talking about the temperature, Brian, happily invite you coming over to the Zoom. Then I will talk a little bit about the temperatures between the different islands, but I will also do that live then next Sunday. So if you have the same questions, what are the temperature on the surface, but also below the thermocline, and how does it differ, especially in the cold season, because the temperature differences are insane. So it's very hard to pack for that. But we will go into that, and then also a little bit about the wetsuit, which I would recommend or not recommend. Yeah, so I will do that. Then first, thank you for everyone who was joining. Thank you for bearing with me. Hope I didn't miss too many questions, but I'm sure we will get to it. As I said, I will do that, or try to do that, as long as I'm on land every Sunday now, to talk about a couple of things. And thank you so much for joining me, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.